Trades. It's that time of year. Some we love, some we don't. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Now Majak Door. He's got the runner inside Majak. He tried the shimmy and the sidestep. Use the 15. How good is that?
Hello guys, quick disclaimer before we start this podcast. Of course, myself and Joel record an awesome pod about all the trades on Tuesday night. Wednesday, all this stuff goes down. Wednesday night was when I was going to edit and get it out for Thursday morning for everybody. So Brody Myercheck, Pounder offering him a deal. Charlie Spargo, he's coming to North Melbourne officially. The club even put that out just before. So I thought I'd better touch on those things quickly before we get into the podcast. Now, we do talk about Spargo in this podcast. Before we knew he was definitely joining, our thoughts remain the same. I'll leave that for that section there. We're not going to harp on twice over the same thing, but North Melbourne has offered Spargo a 3-year deal. He's a free agent from the Melbourne Football Club. The discourse around this one online when I posted about it isn't fantastic. People aren't too excited, and that sort of does mirror what my and Joel's thoughts are later in the podcast, so go and listen to that. Of course, we want to support every player that comes into the football club, and you know what? Talking to a few Demons fans today at the barbershop, look, I'm still not super stoked on this deal. We dive into it more, like I said, so watch the rest of the pod, but 3 years as an unrestricted free agent, I don't know why the 3 years thing has to happen. I can't believe there's many people chasing Charlie Spargo. Maybe 2 years max just to see. He's so injury prone the last 2 years. Was a good player before. The things the Demons fans told me was he is quite good by foot and disposal and decision making when he's on the field. I think a lot of Demons fans want him there. He's just never been there because he's injured. He came back from an Achilles problem, I believe. So look, he is coming into North Melbourne. It's time to back him and support him, even though this deal is not something that's going to get me too excited. But I just thought I'd touch on this really briefly. All of our thoughts that we do say about Charlie Spargo still remain. I'm not going to pretend I'm overly excited about this one, but I do need to acknowledge that he's coming to our club, a 3-year deal. He's a North Melbourne player. He's going to be a North Melbourne player. So look, welcome, Charlie, and I hope you can find your form. And if you are someone who can link up sort of wing and half forward area and use the ball well, make good decisions, then maybe he does have a role to fit in the football club. But the last couple of years, very injury prone and, not someone that's going to get us off our seat for free agency at this point. But hey, that is all happening. So later in the pod. The other one is Brody Myercheck. This was not reported before we talked about it on the pod. Of course, it all breaks today. 3-year deal apparently for Brody Myercheck. This one is concerning for me, and I'd love to get Joel's thoughts, so maybe we'll get his thoughts next time we podcast together. But he's 32 years old. He's going to be 33 at the start of next season, and apparently we're offering him a 3-year deal. No, thank you. No, I like him as a player. He's won Collingwood's goal kicking 3 years in a row. Another, just an undersized key position player who sort of plays like a key position but isn't quite tall enough to. I don't know why we would need to do that with Darling on the list as well, unless something's happening to Darling that we don't know and we need 2 veteran leaders up there. No, thank you. Larkey, Trembath up there, Whitlock, Dawson can play there, Finbar's battling, and Darling will still have something to offer next year. If we're going to recruit a forward, which I think we still should, that Jordan Butts type, which we talk about in the podcast, that age bracket is what I want to do in the key forward area. So I don't really understand this one. I'm not too sure how concrete this is, but that's what's being reported today. 3 years to Brody Myercheck. It's a no from me. I don't know why we would think about doing that, especially with Darling there. Like I said, I mean, Darling's the same age. I think Darling maybe is younger, potentially. Darling turned 33. No, sorry, he's not then, obviously. So, and Myercheck will be 33 next year. So they're pretty similar in age, a year apart. No. No is basically my answer. So, I don't know why the club would be chasing somebody like that. I guess being at Collingwood, leadership and all that sort of stuff, but I don't want a 36-year-old Brody Myercheck on our team not playing potentially. Like Collingwood would die for, I mean, a Darling would probably play for them every single week, right? I think Darling's memory's been okay for them. McStay's been a bit of a flop. Nothing through to injury, obviously, but Darling could arguably get into that team, I think, with his production, and Larkey obviously would walk into that team and be the best forward they've ever had, to be honest. So anyway, no for Brody Myercheck for me. It's a really silly move from North. I don't really understand the thinking behind it. It'll be interesting to see how this develops over the next few days. Anyway, there's my really quick thoughts. We can talk more about this next transfer and free agency pod. But for now, I'll leave you with those two. Enjoy the rest of the pod. We go through a bunch of players, some you've heard of, some names that Joel has sort of scouted as a potential for our team as well that haven't been named for North Melbourne just yet. So it's a great pod. Get into it. Enjoy. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Further north. Trade season's heating up. Now, everyone loves trade rumors. And it's heating up all over the joint. We're here to talk about them. We've been linked with a bunch of players. Some interesting reports coming out today. So we're going to get into all of that. This is the number one place for trade updates. And when there's trade updates, when there's players that need to be talked about, I need someone who's much more intelligent than I am. And that's why we've gone and got Joel. I'm here to host, Joel, and you're here to give me the information. That sounds like a good deal.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll take that. I just occasionally show up and talk and then get to leave again, so it's all right.
yeah, you got the easy part, mate. I got to do
the
all the
easy
editing.
part, yeah, the editing and the actual work part.
Yeah. Well, look, that's all right. It's a good combination nonetheless. And look, we're here to cover everything in the off-season. You're a big trades man as well. I know you get up and about at this time of year, draft stuff as well. This is really your season starts now.
Oh, I love this time of the year. It's like, obviously, just to go, I guess, dive in a little bit quickly, Gold Coast, obviously, their top pick being a bit rumoured and linked to us has got me a little bit excited, just because I've been watching the draft a bit and, yeah, seeing the options that we could go in that sort of realm if we manage to get it. So this is the kind of time of year that I really love. It's my favourite, probably, when we've been playing as badly as we have.
Well, look, it's the hope that keeps you holding on, and we've learned that over the last few years. So, look, let's get straight into it, and we will touch on, before we get into the players, we'll touch on that draft pick that we've been rumoured to be looking at. The potential trade is for Gold Coast pick 6 for our 2 second rounders, which currently are 20 and 21, I believe. Obviously, we'll get pushed down with the plethora of father, sons, and academies and compensation picks, which good luck, Richmond, when it comes to all that. But is this a deal that excites you? One, I guess, first question, why are we looking to do this when the draft is very compromised and we originally traded out of it? And two, is that something you, as a watcher of the draft and a fan, would be excited by?
I'm always excited for higher picks and better prospect, capturing and getting better players. It would be more than 2 second rounders because that would be equivalent on points for them. So Gold Coast wouldn't really get the value out of that. We'd have to trade something probably from the future as well, as my gut feel. And if we were doing that, Gold Coast has to make up points for probably 4 first round players in realistically, which is yet again, they've got quite a few picks. They've got 3 first rounders this year. I forgot who they're all linked to at the moment, but essentially the pick that they'll be getting is pick 6, I think it is, or pick 7. It's going to be pushed back a couple of spots, obviously, because of the compensations, potentially for Draper being compensated and potentially
Oscar Allen as well.
Oscar Allen definitely. Draper.
You'd think he'd be getting.
I think maybe band 1, maybe band 2. The Gettable with Toomey was suggesting that that's a bit of a borderline one at the moment, but I imagine Brisbane might up that if that's the possibility.
If that's the difference between the two, the deal though, they'd probably sneak over there to have. I guess that's what the Bombers would be pushing for as well, because I think he's contracted, Draper, isn't he? Or
no, he's not. He's free agent.
Okay.
So they don't have to do anything like that. But there's the only thing that Essendon could do is force him into a trading situation. And if they did that, they wouldn't be getting anything of value anyway, to be honest.
Fair.
So that one would be an interesting one to trade up to. So it wouldn't be for the 2 second rounders. I'd try to keep one of those at least. I'd probably give away a fair few points. I think we're not going to take more than 3 players in this draft. I'd be shocked if we did. And I'd probably trade out of the next year's a little bit more, just given Tassie's probably likely to have, I think they've got 5 of the first 10 picks odds. So any draft capital's really, really compromised. It's a much better looking draft already next year, I think, but it'll be more compromised. And the other thing I'd say about this draft is it's obviously there's some talent at the top. I'm still not as high on it myself. But it's also, there's a few more interesting prospects sort of popping up to where we would be having our first picks now. But they're not as safe. Like last year's, you can see how many players played from last year and the depth that there was. It's not the same as last year. It's a lot shallower and the top end's a lot more questioned. And a lot more speculative is the word I'll use. So it'll be an interesting one to watch.
So why would North be looking at trading up to pick 6 in your opinion?
It would be the players that we're targeting would be the big question mark. There's a big, I reckon the players that we'll be looking at would either be a Taylor, who is a big defender type, or like 190s interceptor, a lot more defensive minded. And I think the other one that we'll look quite heavily at is a Farrow, who can, yet again, 190 centimeters. He's been likened to like a Jordan Dawson, where he can, but I'd like to use him like on the wing or off that half back line as a defender as well. But he'll potentially, with the ability to move into the center and be a big bodied mid at some stage of his career, but like he'll be starting his career as like the halfback or winger. So I like both those prospects. And I think that's probably who I'd be looking at. The other one might be like a key forward, because I'm not sure we've got that answered yet, the second one.
Trembath isn't the second coming of Wayne Carey for you?
Oh, I'm loving me some Trembath. It's just going to be a question, I guess, for him. Like, I'm not sure I see him as a number 2. And we're still, I mean, he's probably actually a much better contested mark and pack mark than a Larky, which is a strange thing to say, but Larky's obviously a better lead up forward and creates a lot of goals himself. But there's a few, I think there's a spot there that we could have another one. Matlock might be the answer, which I'm hoping he is. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
So what do you think is a fair price for North Melbourne to pay if we were going to trade up? You seem pretty keen on it. So what do you think is a fair price for us to pay, or what would you look at?
Well, I mean, I would try to keep one of our second rounders. Like, I think the 2 second rounders are pretty equivocal on points to what Gold Coast has for pick 6. So the value for them trading isn't high. Would have to trade something out in the future. I would try to avoid giving up our future first as part of that. There's a chance that could be part of that deal. If we go future first, our second this year, and something a bit deeper, we probably might be offloading a few other players and hopefully get some trade value from some of them, just to add some points to their system for them. But it'll be an interesting watch, that one. Because Gold Coast, I said, they've got a lot of points to make up. That's what's going to be their major driver for them. Okay. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, as long as there's prospects there that we can take and utilise. The thing I would worry about personally from moving up to a pick 6 would be that we're going to take the best talent and not the positional need. And we've seen, I think we all know now, and you would, unless they're completely blind and dumb who work in the drafting department, we can't be taking the best talent anymore if that's a midfielder. We have to be drafting positional. The best talent, obviously, with a big side dish of make sure it's in a position that we can actually utilise. No more 180-odd centimetre midfielders. Bigger body, the bloke you said before, whatever his name was. I haven't done my draft research just yet, but
no, that's right.
A big-bodied mid, absolutely, maybe, and we'll touch on Windhager and stuff in a second, but, clearly we're going after something like that. Mid 190 centimetre defensive-minded big defenders is obviously something to get. So if we can go after those sort of players with a pick 6, look, I'm more than happy for it, but I would be terrified to give up maybe potentially a future first and one of our second rounders to move up to 6 and then draft the best available, another Dersma, another, even McKercher type. Well, not McKercher type, you know what I mean? Like another midfielder that we don't really need. So, but then when picks are around those 2021s, I really believe you go after what position you need, and it's still a decent pick in the early 20s. So, that would be my hesitation as a fan, and your opinion on this is going to overrule mine because you know a lot more about this than I do. But that would be my hesitation. Is that something you sort of share?
No, I agree, and I mean I don't. To be fair as well, there's not even in the top end. I mean, a Dersma we'll probably use off the half back line. CDT, which is the probably likely number 1. You could use him as a forward / Rockman, and he's a bit of a future prospect, which will be very good. And then a lot of the other smaller mids I wouldn't touch. If Dyson Sharp did fall that low, and I think there would be a chance that Sharp could fall that low, who's a 190 centimetre midfielder, really dominant in what he does, I'll probably think very heavily about taking him at that stage. But that'd be the only real one that would, if he fell to that point, that I would consider. As in, Dersman's not going to fall there, and neither's a CDT. So the other ones are a bit smaller and not really what I'd be after for our list. Okay. And I don't think the club would go for those guys over the other guys personally. I think the club would probably preference the defender types. Okay.
Well, look, let's get into some players then. Let's go with the main one that's buzzing around at the moment. Jordan Butts from the Adelaide Crows. Rumoured to have offered him a 3-year deal today, which is going around the North Pipes. Plays for Adelaide Crows, key defender, 25 years old, 195 centimetres. how many games did he play this year? 10 games
10
for
games.
the year, and then 15 before, 17 before, 19, and then 22. So from 21 to 24, he was fairly consistently in Adelaide's team, obviously being overtaken now from a few players coming on. And you pointed out to me before, he's been a little bit injury prone. But this is a deal that really excites me and, I think is the perfect sort of player we need to go after. A 3-year deal on the table. How are you feeling about this? Is this something you would go for as well?
I mean, I like the prospect of going for him. He's been out of the side due to other players obviously performing well, and that Adelaide defense has been one of the best in the AFL at the moment. I think he immediately comes into our best 22 and is probably our number 2 or 1 defender, depending on how you look at it. It creates a bit of time and space for Will Dawson to develop a bit more as well. Like Dawson, where I think he's physically sort of up to it, I think his footy IQ is taking a little while to come with him as well. But that's okay. Players take time to develop, and he was very young, late to the sport. So I don't mind that, and I don't mind a little stopgap. He, will fill that role really well, and it would be him, Charlie Comben, and then you'd probably have to choose between Pink, Logue, or Core, probably for that number 3 on that defensive area. Assuming that, you get your other guys back fit. So it'll be a interesting watch. I really like him. He's more of your stopper defender. He's not really the intercepting, or he's not really the coming off the back line type. That's
what we lack though, isn't it?
1,000%, which is why I like it. He's going to smother. He's going to, just stay with the guy, which is something we don't do overly as well. Chom's going to be a bit more freed up to come across the packs and mark in front.
Yeah, which is his strength as well.
Oh, absolutely. And, hopefully, we talked about this last pre-season, but like if you can get a fit go-to back as well, I think he'll really benefit from it. Being able to come across and intercept as well in front of like a guy that's just going to be a nuisance to the guy that he's actually defending. So I really like that as an aspect. 3 years is about right. Was he out of contract? He was, I'm not too sure if he was out of contract. I think he's got a year or so left on him. Yeah. So we'd have to trade into him as well.
What's something you would trade?
Adelaide will want more, but I'd probably go, your first off would be like a 3rd rounder. Adelaide will want a 2nd rounder, then it'll be a question of what we do. I try to not trade out of this draft as much as trade futures out, like a future 2nd maybe, but it'll be interesting to see what goes. I mean, Adelaide probably wants to create space for a few players that they might want to bring across as well. Butts isn't probably in there. He's probably going to be stopping the development of someone else, even though he's a good backup for them at the moment. So not a bad one to chase. I think that's a really smart target, and I'd want to get him across pretty. If we got him across, I'd be very happy. I think that really deepens that stock. It probably also puts a Whitlock more firmly into the forward line, would be my thought pattern, which is going to be the roll-on of effect if we get another key defender in.
I mean, look, size and time in the forward line for Whitlock will be fantastic for him. And if he plays nearly all year in the 2s in the forwards next year and then can break into that side with, an aging Darling and him and Trembath, and if Finbar is still there, they're the 3 that can sort of fight for that, that 2nd spot, because unless we're going to go out and recruit, we haven't been linked with any key position forwards. So, which is a little bit concerning to me. I still think I like Trembath and I love what Darling brought, but Darling's next year, will be you'd think probably his last year of proper production at AFL level. And banking on a guy, and I love Cooper, but, 3 games, 9 goals, incredible. But after 3 games, sort of banking on him, it's a bit risky. And if he comes on fantastic, I think he's got all the talent to be able to do so. He's shown that. But, we do need stocks in that. And if Whitlock can come on, I don't know if Dawson then potentially could vie for that role as well down in the back line. It's an interesting space, but all I know is we've got key position players. Which are the good ones? And that's what we're trying to find at the moment. But look, Butts, it would arguably be my top target, I think, from what I know about him and, his player type and his archetype. I think it's exactly what we lack. It'll free up Charlie Comben, which would lean into his strengths. And then, look, I love what Pink did, and I still have hope for Logue and stuff like that, but we need someone to make them fight and need to play well to get those spots. So this is an absolute no-brainer for me. Look, a future 2nd, do it. As far as I'm concerned, it's time. And this is why I've always been a defender of the Richmond trade, and not necessarily just on paper with value and that sort of stuff, but I like the intent to improve now, and draft maybe is getting put on the back burner just a little bit because we've got so many good, talented players. It's time to get some players who are ready to play now. And I like that intent from North, even though it didn't pay off last year as much. But I think in the next year or two, that's really going to start to pay off. So get it done, North. Do you think this is likely? Like, what's your gut telling you on the percentage chance of him coming across to North at the moment?
I'm feeling a bit more confident on someone like him because, like, he's going to struggle to get back into that Adelaide side on any reliability. He's probably going to miss out on the finals, just given where he's at with that list. He's a Victorian boy. He's going to want to play best 22 because he's got a bit of pride. He can come in and we're going to offer him a very definitive role and a very obvious role, and the ability to play in the best 22 all year, assuming he's fit. So, I think this one's a really realistic target and a really good target. And one that we can really work with and go from. So I quite like it as a target. I think it's quite a smart target. And I rated him. I liked him, how he was playing. And I think it's just going to add the stocks that we need to at this point.
Yep, for sure. Jake Lever then, rumours that he's been given the tour of Arden Street. Do you think there's a world where we would bring in a Butts and a Lever, or do you think it's sort of one key defender? I can't see a world where we bring in two personally, even though I would welcome it. But I don't know if I see it happening. Before we talk about Jake Lever, would Butts be a priority for you over a Lever? Like, it's a very different type of key position defender. What would you prioritise more?
I'd probably go Butts more so, just given A's profile. I think he is 26 and he's
25 currently, I think.
Yeah. He'll, be in that right age bracket for us. Lever is an interesting one. He has been linked to us a fair bit. Yet again, probably similar key defender role. Him and May have played so well together through premiership sides. I'm in a bit of a conflict with him mentally because he's contracted and would have to trade a decent amount for him potentially, or a little bit. He wasn't in Melbourne's best 22 at different stages during the year, which is a bit concerning.
He was injured, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was injured, but he also had a couple of performance drops as well, and that was not a good side, that Melbourne side this year.
No.
So that was a bit concerning as well. The question for me would be character. Is he, and I think the club can only make the call with those discussions with him, is he like a Darling type that you bring in and he helps structure up that forward line like Darling, or the back line like Darling did the forward line, where he's able to really impart knowledge, give huge value by just his presence and his ability to play at the highest level? Or is he not that guy? And Darling was obviously that guy. I don't know about Lever. There's conflicting things that I've heard people say about that he's not that person. If he's not that person, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. If he is that person that can really show leadership and teach roles to, I would take him on at that point. But that's it's actually strangely less about the on-field for me, more about his leadership ability, because I think we're lacking a good leader in the defensive aspects for our side.
Yeah, okay. And that's right. And what you said before is true, where the club, we have to back the club on they've done their due diligence on the character of the person. And I do back that more with North since Clarkson has been there as well. I think he'll be a very good judge of character with that sort of stuff. So, I do back the club in that aspect. It's interesting. I mean, more of an intercept type defender playing alongside that Stephen May, lockdown type defender. Could have backed, yes, leadership wise, he's got a lot to offer if he is that character, like you said before. But how would you see a Combin and a Lever playing a back line together? Like, what sort of partnership do you think that would be with two sort of interceptors? I think Charlie worked on his one-on-one defending a lot this year. It's still not elite or anything like that, but he's much, much, much improved. An extra year on top of that, a preseason, he might get even better. Maybe he becomes sort of a utility down there. You can be the interceptor, or he's definitely physically good enough to be a one-on-one defender. But how would you see those two working in the back line together if Lever did come in hypothetically?
I mean, North's defense as a whole tends to be mostly defense by committee anyway. We're not really the one-on-one standing next to your guy. We're more that zone area. Like, that's why they'll often play Chom on like the third forward, so that he can come across because he reads the ball so well. I mean, potentially Lever would greatly benefit a Charlie Combin from teaching him what it takes at the highest level. Because I mean, like, for quite a few seasons there, Lever was the number 2 defender in the best defense in the best side. Like, I mean, but I've got just questions around that Melbourne side as a whole. Like, there's a lot of character questions from that side. I mean, they imploded pretty heavily through bad behaviour from individuals in that club that obviously wasn't managed well. So that'd be where I'm really wary. If there's even a sniff of any of that in relation to him, I wouldn't go near him because that would be too much of a red flag. If he good players and intelligent players can make it work regardless, and if he's going to help structure up and improve that defensive setup, I would 1,000% take him, and I think it would be a really valuable, pickup for us. I mean, you saw our midfield jump massively with Parker, even though Parker doesn't have to be the highest stats. You saw our forward line improve fairly significantly this year, I felt, and everyone was really getting their, shots on goal with Darling there. Our back line was really the area of the ground that, like a start where a little Caleb Daniel, obviously, he's not the structurer. He's more running off that halfback, and he's not really teaching anything like that. If you can get someone that can teach those roles and be an on-field coach, that would be the only thing that I would really, if Lever can do that, I would really heavily consider it. If he can't, I wouldn't touch him.
Yeah.
Because he's 30-something years old. His body's already breaking down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, he's 29 apparently. So it says here 29, 194 centimetres. This is a medium defender on the AFL website. That's strange.
Yeah, no.
Which he's not. But yeah, anyway, yeah. 29, he's probably got 4 years left of good footy in him. I don't know if I put him in that bracket of like a Darling. Well, yeah. 29 though, I mean, that's not, I personally don't think 29, 30 years old is an age where you really decline that much anymore in the AFL. Some players can do, but I think players, especially key position players, can play pretty decent football until they're early, 33, 34 years old, with the modern sports science and everything. But hey, look, I do agree with you. If there's any character questions, I wouldn't be doing it either. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, if he's committed and willing to offer that leadership and can structure up well, I would do it. I wouldn't take him over Butts personally. I think Butts structurally fits a lot more, and you're right, age profile, but they're only probably about 3.5 years apart, you would think, ish in age profile, which isn't actually that much different. But Butts would be my preference there, just because he's shown to be a good defender in a good defense, like Lever. But yes, I think character issues at the Melbourne Football Club do spew over a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, look, we'll go over to Mitch McGovern now. Only a recent one here that we've been linked to. I mean, 190 centimetre, 30-year-old. I don't love it, mate. I'm not too excited about this one. I would take Lever over him, and obviously Butts. And then there's another defender we'll talk about in a second who I also would probably take over him. But where's this one coming from? Do you think this is real? I mean, I think the report, I believe, said we had a conversation about him, but that's about it. I haven't seen much more to do with this. Let me just double check. I think, one of the go-to sources here. Actually, slight breaking news here that we've just got. I'm just reading on. I was going to go to the North Melbourne Shinboners. Fantastic page on Facebook if you guys would like to follow along. We're officially out of the race for Jake Lever after him personally telling the news he is staying put at the D's next year. So that just wastes the last 10 minutes of our podcast. But breaking news here.
We'll take it. I mean, like I said, Butts would definitely my preference in that situation. McGovern, just going back to McGovern, I guess. 198, I think I've got written here. Just injury prone. He hasn't played a huge amount, I don't think, for Carlton. He's a good player when he plays. I think he's out of contract as well, if I'm not mistaken.
He doesn't care. Yeah, so it says the Blues have not yet offered McGovern a contract for 2026 and will weigh up whether they want to delist or trade him, reports The Age. The Bulldogs, North Melbourne, Essendon and Brisbane have all inquired about his services. But yeah, look, this one doesn't excite me at all. It's interesting here. There's clearly a target that we're going for with positional here. I'm interested. I'm just going to look at a few of the comments here on the Jake Lever post, because we've never had some. It's not really breaking news, I guess, but it's something developing while we're podcasting right now. I mean, people are very negative about it. They're saying thank God, or who's on North's wish list that's gettable. I mean, Butts, I would hope. I'm good with that, other people are saying. So I'll tell you what, when we originally talked about Jake Lever doing the tour at Arden Street, it was overwhelmingly yes from the people in the comment sections on my posts and the YouTube videos. So it's interesting now to see everyone being like, no, we didn't want him anyway, even though most of us actually did. So we're like a jealous ex-girlfriend there. But anyway, it is what it is. So.
It was a bit mixed for Lever. Like I did see like a fair bit of negativity around him. But that being said, there was a huge amount of negativity around Darling as well when he was coming across.
True.
And I think he's been the question mark for me with Lever would purely have been leadership ability. If he doesn't have any leadership, I wouldn't take him. I would want a Darling type. Like if we got a Darling type defender with a year or two to run that can sort of hold down a role to an extent, and can teach and structure, that's what I would want.
Anyway,
Lever,
let's go back to McGovern quickly here because we keep skipping around. Cool. But did you have anything else on Lever quickly? Sorry to cut you off, but I just want to keep.
No, nothing much. That was pretty much it. He dropped it in the yard. I'm not hugely disappointed by not getting him.
Okay, fair enough. And I guess it's a no on McGovern too. I mean, I don't. This doesn't excite me at all. He's not big enough. He's just going to be another Griffin Logue type, to be honest. So
probably not.
I'm not too not exactly like the same archetype, but an undersized key position player that's injury prone.
198, isn't he? 198.
He's listed 190 centimeters here on the AFL.
190.
Yeah, 190 centimeter, 30-year-old defender on the AFL side.
Injury prone as well.
Injury prone as well. So if he was that 198, that big defender, I'd maybe be even more interested, but 190 centimeter defender. I mean, Pink's that archetype, Logue's that archetype. Even Core is as well. We've got plenty of those guys who are going to be around. I still think Logue can offer something depending on a big preseason. Next year is his year to show that. If not, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Pink, I mean, he's fantastic. I mean, we can't question that.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed his year.
So anyway, look, Noah McGovern. Tyler Young. Now, I won't lie to you. I'd never, ever, ever heard of this guy in my entire life. Somehow he's 27 years old, 196 centimetre key defender. Talking to a couple of Richmond fans about him, they're all pretty keen to keep him. Hasn't got much opportunity at the Tigers, though. I mean, 2023 played 19 games, 24 played 9, and 25 played 7. If you're not breaking into this Richmond side, ACL, I would be concerned. But I was going to say, is there an injury there with him? And that being said, do you want someone coming off an ACL to come to the club?
I don't mind Tyler Young. I quite like him. He is big body again, 196, I think I got written here. He's out of contract, so you could get him for free. He's a mature ager, obviously. He's off the... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the ACL for him. I think he's good enough to play the level pretty well. I think Richmond will be wanting to keep him as well, which is usually a good sign. He played the 7 games he played, if I'm not mistaken, were the last 7 games. So he played when he was fit, he came back in and he was their probably their number 1 defender at that stage. So he's got the ability to cover that role and play really well. I mean, he's not... Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be off the off season. I'd want to see a medical, see how he is, if he's up to scratch and physically. I would not hate making a play on him. He'd be free, which is also a good thing to add to it. He's one that I wouldn't hate making a play on. Yet again, you're looking at that big, we've obviously got a type that we're going after. We want another big-bodied key defender. I think we've looked at Dawson. This is going to be just pure guessing at this time. I think we've looked at Dawson, seeing the end of his year, seeing him play in the VFL and go, he needs more time. He's probably not going to play in the next year or play anything significant. And there's still things for him to learn. If these guys are sort of either stopgap situations where they play a year or two, or if they're, potentially keeping on a bit longer and it just future-proofs a little bit more, that's a really positive thing for us. So we're lacking in that really big-bodied gorilla defender, as I call them. Yeah. And I think Young could fill that role as well. Butts would be still my preference. Young would probably be my second preference in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, that sort of covers off the key defenders that we have been linked to. We'll move on more to the midfield now. The Marcus Windhager sweepstakes. It's hotting up. Now, we heard he was going to stay at the Saints. Then we offered him a 5-year deal. And then now he's going to the D's, apparently. Why he'd want to go to the D's right now without a coach, I'm not too sure. What what's the bloke with Clayton Oliver?
Yeah.
He isn't a footballer anymore apparently. Petrarca's halfway out the door. Viney's an aging man. What's he seeing over in Demonland over there that he would want to go to? Do you think the Demon stuff is real, or is he trying to do some leveraging to get a better deal from the Saints, you reckon?
It's a bit hard to know. He could just be playing all the sides against each other to try to get the best leader in on it. He's not like, I don't think Melbourne makes a huge. I mean, if they lose track, it sort of makes a bit more sense. But they've got a Harvey Langford, which is a big.
I was going to say their draft pick
mid.
Langford as well. Yeah.
They've got Oliver, who's a single geared midfielder. Viney's pretty similar. I mean, Pickett's obviously their explosive, weapon that they use in there. Yeah, but I don't see the fit as well for them. But that being said, like, he's a very good player, a very good stopper as well. And Melbourne tend to like to play that more defensive style of game anyway, so it probably helped them out in that aspect as well. I still think it's up in the air. I mean, like, no one serious has reported that heavily yet on it, in my opinion, like, as in where he's going. The only thing I've heard really that the people that I trust the most are usually like your Tumis and that, and they say that he's very loyal and wants to stay realistically. And but they also said if he hasn't signed yet, that's also something to be said. They've upped the offer to 4 years because we put a 5-year contract in front of him. Yep. So it'll be interesting. I'd probably, if we needed to, I'd up our offer again. Would be very stoked to get him into our list. I think he would be a real asset to our midfield and something very different geared that we don't have in our list at the moment. But he's not out of contract and we'll have to give up something for him as well.
Yeah. Well, really quickly then before I go on to my next point, like, what would you give up for him?
I'd have to at least be a second rounder. I'd probably try to give up the future first.
Okay.
The future first, I think, like, if we finish with a good record.
Just like last year.
Like last year. But, like, I mean, like, if you finish with a decent record, like, as in, and we finish, like the bare bottom of what I expect, which is 8th, then we're probably going to end up with, like,
That's right. You locked in finals last pod. I forgot about that.
Probably about, that pick could end up, like, in the 20s, realistically, just with all the, Tassie influence in that. So that would be reasonable for me at that point. And, like, Windhager is, like, the people, like, I love draft and I love my picks, but people hugely overvalue that. You've got to look at the individuals that you're bringing into your club. Windhager, we bring him in. He's only mid-20s and he's
22,
early 20s even, and he's developed exceptionally well. You would expect him to play another 200 games. If you get a 200 game player for a pick that becomes like pick 10 or 11, like, what are the chances of that player becoming that, and what are the chances of that player being a known quantity that's a extremely good stopper on one side and a really mature adult on the other? Like, you don't know what you get. I mean, we had pick 4, you get pick 3, we took a Phillips, who's a very good senior human being and, like, very smart fella, but he struggles to break into the side. And, like, picks, the numbers don't matter as much as the individuals that you're bringing in is the big thing to think about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, he's been very, very healthy as well. 4 years, 75 games. Played every game for the Saints last year. So, yeah, look, I would love this. This would be another one I'd be super, super hot on it. I mean, look, I'm going to be a very excited North Melbourne fan if we get a Butts and a Windhager, and I don't know how, realistic all of that is, but, I would be very, very excited. So, yeah, look, get it done. I mean, I've already spoken about on the pod where I would sort of see him fitting in. I mean, just your opinion on it with, we saw Sheasel, Wardlaw and LDU look very, very, very good. Obviously, that means one of them goes out of that starting 3 rotation. And when we look at what Clarkson likes to do with the CBA attendances and stuff like that, is he going to be in that main 3? I know there's like a main 4. Then you're looking at like Powell's on the outer, which I'm okay with because I think Powell needs to be better. Do you see him as a guy who can come in, will start, and then Powell's and, anyone else who wants to go in that midfield, even Parker, he's getting a little bit older, but you know what I mean? Anyone else who wants to get in that midfield, there's a bit more pressure on them then. You think that's a good thing for us? Oh,
it's always a very good thing. I think, truth be told, for me, the way I'd be looking at it is he's going to future-proof against Parker when he goes. Sure. When Parker leaves, and Parker's, probably got another year or two. I mean, he's played very well this year.
Yeah.
But next year, expect him to slow down. Or if he's the same, it's really good. You might give him another year, but that's going to be, 2-3 years. You got to really have a future-proof, and all of his CBAs, will be a much more better side like Sydney was when Parker started playing a lot more forward line because he's so creative there. And when Windhager, with Windhager, if he's playing more in that centre and that more defensive big stopper, he's only 185, I think he was, but
Yeah.
it's not he would be one that I'd definitely put into that role. And I think he'd probably just take Parker's spot would be my gut feel.
Yeah. No, look, I wouldn't hate that. I think at this time, though, it's hard to see anyone leaving the Saints with. It's an exciting time down in St Kilda, to be honest. I mean, look, one of my best mates, James, is a Saints fan, and mate, they're buzzing. I talked to a few Saints fans this week, and I know maybe they're technically overpaying for some players, but it's small club syndrome, mate. You've got no choice but to overpay to get players to come to your club. And good on St Kilda, I hope we smash them next year and whatnot. But look, in the small Melbourne Club Alliance, you clap to them, to be honest, because if you're going and you're adding potentially like a McGovern and then Liam Ryan and De Koning and all these players, you re-sign Naz and all that sort of stuff, they're all coming down to the Saints right now. Imagine if that was our club, mate, we'd be lids off for us, 100%. So, good on them. I don't know why Windhager want to leave that right now. If the Saints could potentially maybe play finals or be close to pushing finals next year, if it clicks.
If it clicks, yeah.
Yeah, if it clicks. But look, it's an exciting time down there, but if you can pry him away, let's do it. Speaking of people to pry away, Elijah Sardis, not someone who's quite as exciting as Windhager. George Wardlaw's mate as well, played 16 games over 3 seasons in the AFL now.
Yeah.
I forgot he was part of that Sheasel Wardlaw draft.
He was.
What's going on with him? I've always heard a lot of different things about Sardis as to commitment issues or not quite up to scratch. What have you heard about him and how did you feel when we sort of got linked with him?
He's not like in the VFL, he puts up video game numbers is what I'd say. He gets like 40 disposals a game, kicks a goal, but he's really that inside mid exclusively. His disposal is really questioned by a lot of the Essendon supporters and his ability and effectiveness on the outside. And he doesn't really have a spot in that Essendon list. And in that side,
which is saying something though, right? Because they're decimated with injury and, not the greatest midfield ever anyway. Yeah.
I think he finished with an injury this year as well, but I don't think he's been my question mark on him at that draft stage was I thought he was a poor defender, which yet again doesn't bode well for us.
For a defensive mid, yeah.
For a defensive, he's not. Yeah. I reckon the reason we would look at him is we looked at him very, very closely at that draft. It was between him and Sheasel were always taken. Sheasel was the highest rated. I believe we're looking closely at him and Wardlaw. Wardlaw obviously was injured and his body was always a question then. That's probably still realistic now, but Wardlaw's obviously several times the player that Sardis has developed into. Sardis, there's fool's gold in the AFL where you go after former top picks and expect them to be better at the next club. This happens a lot. We did that with a Paul Ahern.
I was going to say Paul Ahern,
yeah. Jonathan O'Rourke did that. I mean, Stevenson was a number 6 pick, though. He'd come off a pretty decent year still, but his form had started to waver a bit. But they start to waver or they don't have that good form line. And then clubs are like, oh, they're a high pick. They've got all these assets. And then by the time they get there, they're pretty washed, in fairness. Sardis, I don't hate. And the only reason I say this is being such a close friend with George. George and him, played together at Oakley. And him and Sheasel were friendly types as well. So I didn't hate that as much, that thought pattern of getting them, if that helps George more happy or more settled, or if we can't squeeze anything out of him, I don't see anyone else doing it. I don't think any other club's going to give him really an opportunity, to be fair. And probably the only reason, but the person who reported, I think, was McClure, who's notoriously bad.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, that doesn't give me much faith now, does it?
No, it's notoriously bad. It's just a little flippant comment that I think he essentially made. So, I mean, I don't see it happening. I mean, if we were to take him, the at most I would give is a 4th rounder, which I'd probably prefer to use to try to trade up. And the list spot, you could argue then, would you rather have Will Phillips or a Sardis on your list?
I think Sardis. I think I would take. I think Will Phillips he's peaked. Absolutely. I still think. I mean, Phillips has been in an AFL list for 5 years. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
been
and Sardis has
more
only
than
been
enough
3. Yeah.
time. Sardis has been 3, but he hasn't had as much opportunity as Will Phillips has had. I think Will Phillips has had more than enough opportunity to show that he can do it, and more than
Yeah.
enough opportunity after the glandular fever and that sort of stuff, which I
Yeah.
don't doubt affected him. But he's had so much opportunity, and he's never really held down that spot. I mean, he's clinging on to that tagging Dacos game for his life, for us saying that he's still got something to offer. Look, good luck to Will Phillips if he's on another list, but the fact that only West Coast has maybe been rumoured to be looking at him maybe shows where he's at, and that's unfortunate because Will Phillips, I'm sure he's a great person and I've got
He seems
nothing
like a
against
great
him,
person,
but, I think Sardis would have a little bit higher ceiling. Does he hit that? Absolutely no idea. And he's shown at the moment to say no, he's probably not going to, but I would probably prefer a Sardis on the list than a Will Phillips. I think there's still a little bit of hope for Sardis, where I think Will Phillips maybe is what he is. But
I agree on all the above, which is probably why the only reason I'd sort of make the move. And like I said, if we can't squeeze anything out of him, with him training next to George and training next to Sheasel and these guys that this guys that he was just picked behind, if that doesn't rev up him, I'm not sure what would. So, but I guess that's up to the club. I don't see that one happening necessarily either. So, I mean, Essendon probably needs to offload him. They would give him pretty cheaply because there's no value for him. I mean, if they ask for anything more than like the last pick of our things, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
Or an improvement on one of their picks, maybe. That'd be about it.
Fair. All right. Well, here's another one that underwhelms me, mate. So we're really cooking with gas tonight. Charlie Spargo. Why are we offering Charlie Spargo a deal? We've talked about him. I talked about him on a live stream, played 10 games this year, only kicked 1 goal, 4. The season before in 24 played 1 game.
He got injured last year as well. He was coming off an injury.
What injury did he have?
I think it was Achilles, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. What are we doing here, mate? Is this just because he's there? Like, do we think this is a real rumor, or is this just one of them that's floating around in the wind?
I reckon it probably is just an inquiry. Like, we've inquired about it, is my understanding. Another 172 centimetre forward doesn't, like, he's a better ball user than probably a Constanti at his best, his best was 3 years ago now. There's family ties to the club for Spargo, and he was a North supporter. I think that might have a little element. It would be free yet again. So that, I mean, like, at his absolute best, if he gets back to fitness, he would probably be, personally for me, just above Constanti on our pecking order, or around there at least. So devil's advocate, you could argue that. I wouldn't do it. I'd prefer to see another year out of Payne probably over bringing him in. That's realistically probably the decisions you're making with him.
Yeah, I mean, and look, if that's the type of player we're talking about potentially being over the top of a Spargo, then it's definitely not something I'm super keen on. Apparently he's got an offer to stay, but as an unrestricted free agent, is considering his options, including interest from North Melbourne. His dad, Paul, played 81 games for the Roos per Cal Toomey as well. So, please just let's be a bit more serious here. I mean, if we're debating like, do we keep Banch or do we keep Payne, and Constantine Hansen Jr. have contracts and that sort of stuff for next year, then I don't really see the point in bringing this guy in. If he's free, he's on a nothing deal, and it's a 1-year thing. I mean, maybe I can understand, but this does not excite me. So probably a no. I mean, you look back at his 21-22 form. 24 and 25 games respectively, and he's never been the best goal kicker though, to be honest. I mean, 2021,
never been a big goal kicker.
25, well, and that's kind of it, right? Like, what is he going to offer this team? Like, I guess on the wing, but I don't know. Spargo's probably not the guy that makes me excited about the wing, especially when we saw Jai play so well out there. And does a Bailey Scott get back to form? And I know it feels like he never will again, but he's had a lot more good years than bad years. So 25 games in 21, 24 in 22, 18 goals in 21, which is pretty good. His first year actually in 18. Geez, that's a while ago. 18 games, 14 goals. So look, there's an eye for goal. He can sort of play wing, half forward-ish, but yeah, like I said,
no.
I'm not too excited about this one. So yep, you go.
There's like if we're after a goal scorer in small forward, there's a really good one potentially in this draft to Doveston, which I really rate. And if we trade up, I'd prefer taking him if we're going to go down that route again, which I'm not sure we would.
Okay.
Apparently, we're just trying to get the 170 centimeter small ones
find our
with
own Nick Watson
broken bodies.
potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, if only we drafted him. Anyway, look, someone who plays with Nick Watson currently, Luke Bruce. Now, this has only sort of been spoken about today, if not maybe yesterday. We've been hearing the rumours about him potentially being on the coaching panel for North Melbourne, but there's a link today that he's sort of potentially Clarkson is going to try and convince him to come out of retirement. I don't know how I feel about this. Where did I find? I posted this up before. I don't know if it's a reliable.
I don't think it would be
source.
reliable. Surely, I don't see the value in that for anyone.
But it's in the news, mate, and we report the news. This is via Ripped Through Hit on Instagram. Clarko wants him back. North Melbourne have dangled a 1-year deal to veteran Luke Bruce to get him out of retirement. Ripped through it here, 10K followers. It's an AFL podcast. Look, I've never listened to it and don't know exactly where that information comes from. But like I said, we're just reporting anything that we have seen. Do you think, I guess, you don't think this is real?
No, there's no reality. There's no, strangely, of all of our lines, what value does he add to our forward line?
For sure.
Also,
we've got the next Jack Gunston in Zane Dersma anyway.
We do. And if we want him to teach and coach, you can get that done. You could potentially sign him to either a VFL, the coaching role that I think Tomlinson had that for a bit. And we've had a few, no, not Tomlinson,
Lynch?
The other guy. Yeah. There's a few that had a couple of those roles where they're sort of teaching in the back line and coaching at the same time. So I would prefer something like that for him. I think he could be a great influencer Bruce on a Dersma, hopefully. There could be actual real value in that sort of aspect, but not on. I don't think you need him to be on field for that. I think you just need, of the dumb things that the club has done. Sorry, just to go off on a tangent. The mentor for Dersma in his first year, I think it was Stevenson.
Fantastic. That's right. He's taken him under his wing. That was the report, wasn't it? I think that was the wording.
The truth of it.
And then we've had a few good role models. I think Taryn was Jason Orton Francis's role model. That was great, and some good judges of character there.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit of questionable. Hopefully, those days are gone. But Bruce would be the perfect kind of person to be able to teach in that sort of situation. He's obviously got a plethora of experience and great knowledge. I wouldn't want him to take up a list spot.
You'd be happy for him to come on as a coach?
Oh, 1,000%. I think he's got. My only concern would be is if it's too much sameness to what. But it depends what kind of coaching role. If he's a forwards coach and teaching.
He's playing in a forward line that without having many big names up there is functioning very, very well as well. Obviously chemistry with Clarkson from the glory days, but also this new wave of Hawthorn, which plays very, very different to that team. I wouldn't feel like it's too much of a, in his own home sort of signing for us. I think he's been around enough and seems like a very smart, player to play for this long as well and use his attributes, his footy smarts instead of his physical attributes at 34 years old. So, look, coach, yes. A player, no, thank you. No, I don't know. He wouldn't even play a game, surely. But I felt like that about. Liam Shields was playing for us, which was crazy stuff. So, look, Clarko's getting the band back together. Yeah, he was actually all right. I'll never forget his last quarter tagging role on Nick Dacos when Will Phillips got subbed off and we lost that game. Fantastic. And I think he tagged Shuey in the West Coast game or something like that as well.
Yeah, something like that.
Liam Shields, the tagger. Hey, bring him back. He's the reincarnation of Jacob. What's his name? What's the Ben Jacobs? I was going to say Jacob Edwards. Oh my God.
Jacobs. He was so good, Ben Jacobs. It was just, he was. Couldn't get his body right.
No. All right, look, we've got a few more to talk about here, then we can finish this up. A few more rogue shouts. Now, we haven't been rumoured with these guys, But you've got cooking in the lab, Joel. This is off the top of your scone. We've got 3 names here you think are sort of semi-gettable and someone that we should target in your opinion. So if anyone makes posts or tags we room with these guys, tag Further North Pod and we'll take the credit for this one. Now, I can't say this bloke's name, but I'm going to give it a go. Connor
Butterick.
Butterick. Never heard of him, mate. Honestly, never, ever heard of him. Give me the rundown on this guy. Why are you thinking he would be a chance to come to North or we should target him?
Just same thing, like out of contract, mid to defender. I probably want to play him in that more defensive role. 175 centimetre, a little bit on the shorter end, but I think he can defend those smaller forward types. There's been a little bit of noise I did hear on a few things about him as well, and he's just the kind of player as well, because I think our defensive stocks are what we need to improve the most, in my opinion. That doesn't greatly change still. He could move up a little bit, but I think he's the kind of player that you could target that right age bracket. He's not getting back into that Gold Coast side anytime soon with the talent depth that they have. So
playing that Constanti role as well, would you say, for our team? Like, is this sort of player going to come in alongside if Cooper and Banch and
defensive
Jr.
more so? So he'll be defending the small forwards more so than he's not playing as the small. He's defending them.
So he's a defender?
Yeah, defender. I have him
okay, it's my mistake because the AFL website here has him listed as a medium forward. Yeah.
No, I have him more as a defender personally. That's what
has he played defense for the Suns? Is that?
Yeah, I think he's played a few games in there. I think it's usually where he'll
I'm just not sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
It just says he's a forward here, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah. No, but I think he's got the assets that we could use to play with him. I think he's someone
He's played 18 games for the Suns this year, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you've got on the thing for them though is you've got players like Rogers and Lombard sitting in the reserves. You're going to bring in Newland. You're going to bring in Patterson. You're going to bring in all these guys this year. And he's the sort of 22 player, I reckon, or he's like towards that back end of their best 22. And that's the kind of players that you can pry out at the right times. Yeah. So he's one that I would be targeting and I'd be trying to bring in.
Okay. Well, look, if that's someone you believe, can play as that smaller defender and like a little tagger role, I mean, I'm all for it. Right age profile, 175 centimetre. Yeah, I mean, we need someone the size doesn't really matter if you want quickness and someone to chase around a Cozzy Pickett or a Bobby Hill or something like that. 18 games, kick 6'10". So it looks like he did play majority of the time as a forward, I would assume. But look, as long as he would come in to be filling that role, I would say absolutely not if we're looking at him for a forward.
No.
But if that's a defensive sort of signing for us, potentially a good one. And like you said, not really going to be getting back into that Suns team if they've got all those players coming in. So not a bad one there. Is he out of contract or would that be a trade?
Yeah, out of contract. He's out of contract.
Yep. Okay. Sam Flanders. This is someone who I got confused with Noah Anderson originally, but then when I realized who it was, I'm like, okay, I completely understand. 24 years old, 183 centimeters. I mean, 18 disposals in the elite category, 10 handballs a game. What sort of role would you see him playing for North, and why do you feel like this is someone to target or would be semi-realistic?
He could be very versatile, I think. He can play off the halfback. He can play a few roles as well. I think he was a bit disappointed with his role in Gold Coast this year. There's a couple of sides that are actually sniffing around him. Yet again, Gold Coast just has so much depth coming through that good players are getting, pushed out a little bit. And I think he's someone that you could potentially offer a bit more to and play and role in that. The reason he's potentially gettable, I think, is he was a really big North supporter growing up, which is always a big thing to add on. I think with him being unhappy with the role, he is not out of contract. He's in contract till the end of 2027. But they need to make some list choices there, and he'd be the kind of player I'd be targeting yet again. Like, I think could be elite in a lot of categories for us as well to come across and fill out a role for us. So, and probably like that, almost, not that you love him as much, but like another sort of Tom Powell style where you've got an extra bit of assets. Like, you can play across a number of roles. Like, I think Tom Powell, as much as we've disagreed about him at different stages, he's been versatile across a number of roles over his career. He's played half forward, he's played half back, he's playing wing the end of the year, and he has been playing inside mid for most of it. I think Flanders has that versatility as well to be able to play into our side.
Okay. And would you see him as that guy who can sort of play wing for our team? Like, is that his role on North Melbourne if hypothetically he came across?
I mean, it would be more like if you didn't get a Windhager and you wanted to create another person to future-proof against like a Parker, and you could play him off the half-back and the half-forward at different stages, then he's a bit more float between a few of them, I think. So but like he's just, I think he's underrated at the club he's at a bit, and I think they've got such a strong, deep midfield with more talent coming that you can pry out a really good player in a Flanders and get him to you, and that'd be worth something for us.
Yeah, okay. And is he contracted? Sorry, I don't know if you mentioned
Yeah,
that
to
before.
the end of 2027.
Yeah, okay.
But there is
what would
rumours
we have to sort of give up to get him across the line, if hypothetically?
Probably similar as you would for Windhager, I'm guessing. Maybe a bit more, because I rate him. He's a bit better player than a Windhager, but in a slightly different role, in my opinion. Because Windhager is a bit more the defensive stopper. Flanders isn't as defensive as a Windhager, but Windhager's, it's just slightly different roles. But Flanders is probably a better player overall, I would say, for me.
Okay. And you said there was, sorry, I cut you off before accidentally, my apologies. There was rumours about something with Flanders before?
Oh, no, like there's rumours of him, like, getting noise of coming back down to Melbourne. I think the Doggies have investigated pretty heavy, and a few of the other clubs had sort of put their noses around him at the moment as well. So there's noise starting to come out from him, and I would be really wanting North to put their hat in the ring for him.
Okay. He's not one, honestly, I haven't watched heaps of Suns, so he's not one I've seen, too much of. So I'm going to trust all your opinion here. I mean, look, stats-wise looks pretty good. And I would obviously much prefer a Windhager just stylistically. And I think for me personally, going into this trade period and even drafting specific positions to me is a lot more important than just getting talent through the door. We don't need... and not, once again, this is not saying I don't want Flanders at all, because a player like that I obviously would welcome into the club, but I just don't think we need more players like a Tom Powell. That's sort of good at a little bit of everything, sort of utility midfielder sort of thing. But, I want guys who are going to come in and that's the spot they're playing, and we actually get a bit of a spine of this team going, like what a Butts would do, what a Windhager would do. So that's more the stuff I think we need to be building on if we want to move forward as a football club. But all that being said, a player of Sanders' quality, Sam Flanders. My mistake.
You'd still take,
I'd take him. So, but look, we'll see if this one gets rumoured at all. Yeah. Look, if you pick any of these, mate, I'll, you genuinely are the greatest football mind of this generation.
No, that's not. These are just ones that I would like us to sniff a little bit more around. I think there's opportunity to be had.
And finally, the last one of the night here before we finish up, Ari Schoenmaker. From St Kilda, 20 years old, listed as a medium defender, but 194 centimetres. Give us the rundown on this guy, mate. What do you like about him, and what makes you think North should target him? 7 games over 2 seasons, clearly hasn't got much opportunity. So what do you like about him?
It's sort of like horses for courses and ability to get. Like we talked about him strangely during that draft class when he was around his friends with Kirch, Tassie boy.
We've got to get him then, don't we?
just for the Tassie point.
That's right.
There was questions of character when he was getting drafted. I'm hoping that as a 20-year-old he's matured a bit more. He's in a good age bracket. He's friends with, obviously Kirch helps out a bit for me. But he's got to be out of favour and really down that pecking order now. And there's not he's got his biggest assets is he's got a massive boot. He can kick it 60, 70 metres. He's a ridiculous kick of it. And he's good at running off that halfback. I've been viewing him more as that intercept coming across, maybe that third style defender or a fourth style defender, potentially what I would want Goda to be doing. But yet again, I don't trust Goda's body. I think he's out of contract this year, and I'm not sure what Saints are going to do with him, given that, they're bringing in Ali Kalir, they're bringing in Silvani, they're bringing, they've got Taru there now, they've got Wilkie, they've got all these defenders back there. I think his role gets pushed even further back, and it's down to development for him, and these other guys are really far ahead of him. So I think they're the kind of players that you will be able to pry out at the right time and, potentially be able to offer a more definitive role. So he's the kind of player that I think you'd be able to potentially pinch out of a club with, a bit more upside and development. Yet again, it would come down to how we interact with him and how we see him in the off season. But he's another kind of player that you can get out at the right time.
And to play that sort of Josh Goda role, like a defensive guy who can also do a little bit off half back and distribute. Is that the way you see him?
Yeah, that's the way I'd see him. I'd see him hopefully as a third defender. Maybe he could be potentially a 2 defender, but I want him more as that to give him that freedom to give him, because he's got such a lethal kick and his accuracy with the kick was very, very good. It's just that, he's going to be starved of opportunity at the Saints, and it would be a good opportunity to come in to bring him across now, I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, that's not a bad one. Like you said, out of contract, and the sort of player profile that we've been known to be going after anyway. Maybe a little bit bigger. We sort of want like a slightly smaller defender, I guess, or someone in more of the Archer or McDonald mold who can tag someone a little bit more. But yeah, I mean that spot is still up for grabs. Hardiman was fantastic. But yeah, you're right. Goda's body isn't holding up, and we need bodies down there. So yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a player like that over the line. Have you seen him play very much? Did he impress you if you've seen much of his games? He only played 7, I guess.
Yeah, but I saw a couple of his Saints games, and he was very he was able to use that weapon. You could see when he does do the big kicks and when he's nailing those kicks, it's very impressive. I think he's a pretty good distributor of the ball when he's got it. It's a really interesting thing now that with the way that the rules are going to change, the out of bounds being last kick essentially for between the arcs. You're going to need a lot more accuracy in your disposal coming out of that.
Well, let's hope that doesn't go through, by the way, because that's an absolute abomination to the game of AFL football.
It's the old Sample rules. But you got to think of how it affects the game going forward and what you're going to actually need.
It basically makes every single ruckman nowhere near as valuable. That's what it does.
It does hurt the ruckmans. It does. But it does help it does mean that you're going to be more of the disposal going out, and the accuracy of the kicking is going to be really important off that halfback line.
All right. Well, look, let's finish it up there, I think, before there's any more rants on this podcast. So, look, any other last things to mention or say before we get into this trade period? I mean, look, we'll try and do maybe a weekly trade update thing. There's not really much going on at the moment. Yeah. Obviously, I was beside the women and the finals series, which, I mean, I don't really cover the finals series on here. I'm not too interested personally. I like watching it, but it's not North related, and we're here for North content. So, yeah, look, let's hope we get Butts, we get Windhager, and give me Schoenmakers potentially. I don't mind that. And your mate as well, Bordrick. Yeah, that's the one. You know what I'm talking about. But only if he plays in the back line. And give me Bruce on the coaching staff. Other than that, the rest can
Bruce
go.
on the coaching. No. I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, the big ones, bringing across the Butts, I think just helps us in the short term at least, potentially the long term. Windhager I'll put a bit more into, and I'd definitely go for him. The rest of them I'm neither here nor there on, to be honest. There could be, you could potentially find value from some of those, but those two would be the ones that I'd be making the hardest play at. Maybe a Tyler Young, I don't hate if we Butts falls through. But that's only at that point. But, I'm happy with where we're standing for the off-season and for where we're at now. It's also for those, I guess, who are going or interested, it's the Sid Barker medal on the Saturday as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well, I mean, it's really just who's going to come second to 10th, Sherry. Right? I think Sherry might take it out, and then my guy Colby, number 2. You heard it here first.
I like that call, to be honest. I do like that call.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. The Tassie boys, they know what they're doing. All right, look, let's finish it up there so it doesn't go too long. Joel, thank you for coming on, and we'll get you on for more trade and draft stuff as we go. It's basically going to be us doing the podcast, I think, for the next, till December, mate. So clear your schedule. Clear your schedule. Make no plans. Seriously, make no plans.
Oh, good. Thanks for having me again, Josh.
All right, mate. We'll chat soon.